Welcome to the policy review meeting for October 23rd, 2025. We'd like to acknowledge that we're on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Nlaka'pamut and Silks people. Adoption of minutes. So we have the adoption of the minutes for the last meeting held September the 4th, 2025. Okay, all in favor? Or quick questions? Sorry, pardon me. Councillor Trini?
Memorial benches in trees. It says committee clarify that the trees will remain after the sponsorship is complete. I thought we agreed that the plaque would stay with the tree as long as the tree was alive. And if the plaque was stolen or damaged, it would then become the responsibility of the person who put it there. But I thought we were leaving the plaque with the tree for as long as the life of the tree.
I thought that's what we had voted for, but
Yeah, that's what it was.
But-
I agree.
that was the, was that in council or was that here? Was we brought it? to
That was
council?
here. Was it council?
I thought we discussed that one in
But
council.
this is, oh, so that was here and then in council,
We discussed something else.
okay, so I got my minutes mixed up.
Yeah.
Okie dokie,
Okay, so bearing that, are we okay with the minutes as is?
you got it.
All in favor? Okay, carried. Okay. Okay, so we don't have unfinished business, but we do have number 4, new business, City Hall closure for Christmas break, December the 25th. Do we have, okay, that the Christmas, okay, committee clerk entitled. Okay. To be received for information. Do we have any questions on that or, okay. I think, CO had some comments there. I can get this thing to turn up. Go ahead.
I just wanted to just introduce this item very briefly. It's that in the past, council had requested at a previous council meeting, they had requested that this policy be brought forward to the committee for consideration. So we're bringing it forward to you for consideration in case there's any desire to have any changes to it prior to December of this year.
Okay. Councillor Egan.
Yeah, my question is, as this has been in effect, I believe, since 2016,
Yeah.
is it really up for debate? Because how upset are the staff going to be if we all of a sudden take away that extra week of holidays? And is this, the second part of that is, would that week be over and above their regular holidays that they get to take?
I don't know, but maybe.
Are they, is it paid time off or is
I
it?
always thought it was holiday time, but
So the way this lays out, my grade has been City Hall closes, staff is allowed to continue working or book holidays. Continue working with permission of their supervisor or manager. I'm familiar with it mostly because it is a little bit dysfunctional because you get a lot of requests to work from home over that period of time. If it's somebody that lives away or has family away, or they want to, go to Saskatchewan and work a little bit and not take all of their holidays. So there is a bit of a function issue with the way it's been. Although I haven't heard a lot of complaints about it, so.
You've heard a lot of complaints
I
about it?
haven't heard.
Oh, okay.
It's just, I've noticed from a function perspective, I get requests for a bunch of odd things around that time of how to use our time, so we're not using holiday time. But then we don't have a lot of easy oversight on the ability to know, are you actually working those days or not? So it's closing something and telling people they have to be off is a bit problematic for me, at least from the experience of all the requests we get for accommodation. So
To have it off, you mean?
the way it is right now, because we do get those requests for special circumstance of I want to work, but I want to work when I'm in Saskatchewan visiting my family. Those kind of things. It's difficult to manage, at least from my experience. I'm not sure how
Looks,
Linda's had on this, but it's worth that discussion if nothing else. That it's the only problematic thing I found with it.
so it looks like it's 3 business days. It looks like because if we're closed between the 24th and 26th, I mean, Christmas Day and Boxing Day would be closed anyway. So 29th, 30th, 31st will be essentially the total, I believe.
Yeah, so the regular days that you would have, you would either book holidays for or ask for permission to work those days. But we don't always have people here. The other part of it that's not really laid out in this is that there's certain crews of people that somewhat have to work and don't get that time, so there's a bit of an imbalance. Haven't heard any complaints on that end, just an imbalance in the system, that's all. But the functionality of where you do your work, if you're gonna continue to come to work for those 2 or 3 days or whatever it is, seems like everybody at that time of year has their special request, at least in the groups I've been looking after, that want to do it in different places, but you lack the oversight ability.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's hard to make them accountable.
Yeah, so it's worth mentioning. That's the only dysfunction I found in it, so.
And also, though, you're talking about 3 days this year, but maybe in
Next year could
another
be
year it
4.
will be different,
Yeah, it
right?
could be more.
Like the holiday might be Friday, Saturday.
And this is
So you would
about
get the
closure of City
following
Hall,
Monday.
right?
Yeah.
And then the second part of that is how staff deals with their time. If they don't want to work, they have to book holidays. They want to work, they require the accommodation and the support of their supervisor, but this is mostly about City Hall gets closed for that period of time. How we deal with the staff is sort of the secondary issue.
Yeah, because the other departments, the arena, the swimming pool, public works still open. I see garbage still being picked up. So this is just mostly just City Hall. So it's not affecting. Yeah, okay.
There's functions that still operate because they have to. Yeah.
And I think Councillor Charney or Councillor Baxter had some questions.
I think we have to look at optics for this also. A lot of people don't have that luxury of taking all of this extra time off. And I'm also concerned with this one that says, it's basically, if you're an employee and you took a big trip in the summer, you use your holiday time, and now the office is closed, then you are forced to take leave without pay. So I have a really hard time with that. You're basically telling people, you know,
Is it leave
This-
without pay, though?
well, that's what it says.
that's
It
my
says or
question.
will be taken as vacation time or leave without pay
Okay.
if they do not have enough vacation
Vacation.
time.
Okay,
I also. And I also have a problem with controlling the productivity and the amount of work that's being done from home.
yes.
It's, yeah. I just find that it from an outsider view, if I, I mean, I work, I'm struggling to work, and I'm expected to, yes, I take Christmas Day off, but I'm expected to be there on the 26th. Because that's when the office opens or that's when the store opens. And yet I see, that the City Hall is closed all that time. It's a bit of an optics thing. And I do have a problem with working virtually and forced to take leave without pay.
Seal.
What I can state is that in the past, the experience that we've had is a little bit different. I guess it depends on the department, but in the departments and where I've been involved with, it is, you need to be in the office. If you have not saved vacation or flex days, it's now that we have a flex day, it's also an opportunity to get the rest of those flex days. If anybody has accumulated any throughout the year that they need to use before the end of the year, they can use them at this time. So it's not necessarily just vacation time. It can also be flex time that can be used at this point. It's in office work. So if you are not taking vacation days and you wish to work, then it's show up at the office and work from the office for that day is what happens a lot at City Hall. So a lot of the departments have that implication.
So would there be a discussion, would there be a discussion on what work they would expect to accomplish in that time so that they would be reporting to their supervisor afterwards?
It would be their regular work
Yeah.
for that day that they would be doing.
So the problem I see with that is, person A comes in and works, but then needs information from person B or person C or the supervisor, and they're not there. So I just find inconsistency of it. Yes, you can come in to work, or you can take a time off. I think it should be one or the other.
Well, I think that, there's a lot of companies that have done remote work. We didn't used to have the accessibility to do council until COVID came along, and we've done a lot of things remotely that have worked out well. So I think being that it's only a couple of days is, I don't have so much of a problem with it, but I don't think there's as many people who, I don't think it's been much of a problem. I haven't heard about a lot personally, but people taking holidays, but I see your point about how it's not fair, maybe.
But
to expect
it's
people-
also, I mean, in the city hall is now inaccessible for this period of time. And I think as taxpayers, we should be open,
During that time.
during that time.
I think Councillor Baxter's waiting to comment.
I'm at the opposite end of you guys. I think because during that time, productivity at City Hall, everybody's talking about Christmas. No offense, things aren't really getting done. Well, they're getting done, but they're not, everybody's like, oh, anticipating Christmas. So things are not as productive as, let's say, during this week. Cause everybody's like, oh, what'd you get your kids? Where are you going shopping after work? I was thinking that you guys should start it from December 24th, Christmas Eve, because on Christmas Eve, everybody's just, you know, here's some chocolates, have some fun, and nobody's really.
As
Getting-
work focused.
And a lot of people aren't coming on Christmas Eve. Like, I'm not running down to City Hall to pay a bill on Christmas Eve. I'm running around grabbing the last minute things, because I know everything's shut down on Christmas Day. And for employees, they're gonna probably wanna do the same thing. They're gonna go get the cranberry sauce or anything they forgot last minute. And it's easier to shut down the day before Christmas and maybe let them come to work on those other days. So that way we show that we really care about our people working for the city, saying, hey, look, you can have that day to go and grab all the stuff you need. And then New Year's Day, who's gonna be productive on New Year's Day?
I don't think so. I mean, I close Christmas Day. Every other day of the year, we're open. Every
Yeah.
other day, you know, because we're a service industry. And I can't afford to let my staff do all those kinds of things. It's about planning. Everybody has to be able to plan for that.
But service industry is different than city. We are.
Yeah, I see it both ways. I can appreciate Councillor Baxter, your comments, but I also see Councillor Charney and Egan's point as well, because my office is open on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve and everything. We do shut a little earlier instead of 5 o'clock, maybe it's 3 o'clock. But also businesses have to continue, so I think the way it's planned with the time off or holidays is the way it is, because some people do have the flex days. Councillor Charney?
Well, I was just going to say that that our city hall should be no different than any other business. You know, Christmas Eve, yes, take a couple hours off, whatever. Did I say Christmas or New Year's?
Christmas.
Christmas, but to take the whole day off because you think the productivity is not going to be there, then you could say, okay, well, the 23rd, the productivity is not going to be there either because the next day they're off and they need to get things done. So I personally think for optics and having the city open for the convenience of citizens, and you know, it's like the insurance company, if you close down for the week between Christmas and New Year's, it's going to affect people.
Yeah.
So I think we're a business and we have to keep to regular hours with the exception of your statutory holidays.
Yeah, I think because people have been used to us being City Hall being closed for the week, I think most people expect it now. I mean, it's been almost 10 years, but I think right now all we have to do is decide if we want to move this to council, but
Yeah, I'll recommend that we move it to council.
if people are using holidays, I think we're, as a city, we're not losing anything. I do agree that we should be open, but also I think so few people are probably coming to City Hall anyway, but I think the biggest thing is for people paying their utility bills so they don't get a late fee notice. But do we have a concession in force so that if people come and pay on January 2nd, that they're not charged?
Put it in the little slot.
But will they be considered on time is my question. So I don't know if CAO or the CEO wants to answer that, but
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it affects anything.
yeah,
I
it
believe
doesn't
where
have-
we've had that. Yeah, so I don't think there's any deadlines we're trying to hit at that point.
I think it was just that your utilities, I think you get the billing owing by November 30th. But if you pay it by November, you get the discount and it's due by December 31st. So then you get your penalty if it wasn't paid, is what I thought. Is that incorrect? But if it can be submitted and received in the mail slot and not be penalized, I don't have as much of a concern, but I think it should be brought to, so
If I could offer a little bit more on the subject,
go ahead.
part of my goal in what I do is try to spur conversation on as well, so that we send something in that has had conversation in it. So to that end, the primary points on the two things that we're talking about here being staff and then the physical closure of City Hall to public are two different issues built into one policy. The primary thing regarding City Hall closure, it is traditionally a very slow time. And there's not a lot of expectation of service, at least from what the recollection of everybody is and how it's been handled and understood. So there hasn't been any, to our knowledge, any concerns raised about City Hall itself being closed. Because we don't have a lot of people trying to use it at that point. So you'd probably hear that yourselves if there was concern over that. The far other end of the spectrum, and this is always something to consider, is other places I've worked, including the last employment. Council chose each year, sort of on review of these things, to provide a gift of those days as an additional incentive for staff as a gift. Always something to consider. Probably from what I've heard, something you're not interested in, but it does happen in other municipalities as well. Just for food for thought, the other end of the spectrum, right? So we have 3 days involved here that are not stat holidays. Some cases it was 4 days, and they made a choice every year to provide that gift, and it was announced that way. Food for
So
thought.
how does that work with, I'm a pool employee and I'm expected to show up on the 26th, but my counterpart in the city hall can take that time off. So, and yeah, so, you know, the inconsistency of who can take it and who can't, that to me is a problem also.
It's not a level playing field, and there's certain
Right.
functions that have to go on. There might be an emergency somebody has to get called in for.
Yeah.
You know, if you're looking at some point providing that as a gift, you would probably have to find a way to make that gift available in other ways. That said, we do have other earned time benefits, such as the bank time and the flex time and things like that. So it's not like we're short of ability for people to manage their time off. Just throwing that out there as it's done elsewhere, but in that environment, we didn't have all those things either. So there's different ways of accumulating time. The management of the staff when they're off, so it's something that I've noticed, and all I had to do was accommodate a couple of requests, do the work in advance to set up a work program for what I wanted them to accomplish and make sure they got it done by the time they got back. So it does create a bit of a burden on the manager if we have to accommodate a request. And the main reason for accommodating a request is because when we know people are traveling for their family events, and we force them to come across paths or the passes to come back in here, you feel a little bit responsible for putting that person at risk when you know they're going. So I do the extra work myself, make sure that there's a workload I've given them, I expect to see done by the time they get back. Just things that we have to do. It's something worth considering because the questions probably come up. It's not the end of the world. It's just what we've had to do because those who do go elsewhere for Christmas that don't want to use all holiday time, that say they'll have a bit of time to work. We just have to make sure that they've got sufficient work, connectivity and everything else. Connectivity fails, what then? It adds a few questions that it's a management problem, not necessarily an overall problem in the system as far as what we're trying to accomplish. And in my world, it's been a few people a year kind of a thing that are looking for something different because they're traveling. I think en masse, the people that live here, we're not having that particular conversation with because they're here anyways. So food for thought.
I mean, it's an interesting idea. The only thing is like Councillor Charney says, I mean, if you start, giving the city hall staff gift days, would probably end up in a union issue. So I have no problem with the idea of closing city hall, and as it sits in the report with the, time off or unpaid or whatever the case may be. But I think that if we started doing gift time, we'd likely run into issues with the union, but that's just my thought.
So right now, if you move it forward the way it is, there's been no change.
Yep.
It's been the way it's operating. You're familiar with at least what we've seen, plus and negatives on things and other options. So where you want to go from there is entirely informed, and you've had the conversation, which to me is what the goal here is, right?
Well, I think we can move this to council and then make a decision that way. But do you have further?
Well, I think it should move to council because, there's a lot of things that
Or other
is
opinions.
inconsistencies, yeah.
I like it the way it is personally, but anyway,
Well, and the working from home or from an alternate site. Doesn't that increase your workload, and that would increase your flex time later on? It's costing money. And that's what our whole focus is to try and reduce the amount of money that we're spending, right?
Yeah, and we do that, I've done that before, just because I know somebody's going to Vancouver for a couple of days for Christmas. And if it's 2 days in between or something that aren't staffed, I really don't want to risk them traveling in the mountains. So I'll put the extra work in to make sure they have direction on what I need to accomplish if they're gonna work those days. So it's worth it to me to make sure people are safe. But it's always out of forcing people to come back if they're traveling home. It's a responsibility thing. You don't want people exposed to risk if you don't have to.
But that's without most jobs, though.
I
I
get
mean,
that.
we are not in a little bubble. We are the same as, and that's the way we should be perceived, is in the community. We are part of the community. We're not this little bubble where we have all these special privileges. I don't, maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know, the other thing I was thinking too, just like what you're saying, is like, if the weather's that bad, they've made that decision to go.
okay. CO and Councillor Baxter will have comments.
I just wanted to ask if you're wishing to forward this to council, is there a recommendation that you'd like to make to council? So that-
Personally, I'm happy with the recommendation as it is, and then the decision will be made by all seven. I don't know if that would be moved by the
So the-
votes. And also, before we move it though, I think Councillor Baxter was just waiting to make a comment as well.
I've been looking at other cities in BC and their closures. Kamloops is only gonna be closed on December 25th and 26th and New Year's Day. And District of Hope, same thing.
I see. Okay.
Those are the only days those are closed, is the 25th, 26th and New Year's Day.
Well,
I could see us doing the 25th, 26th, the 31st and the 1st.
Why the 31st?
That's New Year's Eve.
well, then how is it any different than the 23rd that Councillor Charney was saying?
What about my birthday night? I mean, if you go that way, you gotta go that way.
I think we should just make the motion and move this one to council, because I think it's fine the way it is personally, but we're not all gonna think the same.
That's
So,
right.
So I think then that way we'll let the whole crew decide.
Well, send it as is
Sent.
for further discussion.
Okay, so motion to move this to council, all
Yes.
moved? Yeah, second, all in favor? Great, carried. Okay, so next piece of business, we have fees and charges bylaw. So policy bylaw and review committee to recommend council with the fee, okay, so. Did the CO want to introduce this? I mean. Or just discuss it? I mean, we have it all here and. I think we all have our opinions and questions and things. It's with the 3 attachments, I can see that there's a lot of information here and iterations and stuff. And I know personally, I was kind of concerned about where it had the earthworks at the 5,000, and I was just trying to see where there was more detail. And In here, is this where we're also talking about the sewer parcel or is that gonna come in the utilities? That would be separate, right?
I forget, what was the percentage that we were recommending? Is that still 5%?
But they're not 5%.
So what's in front of you
What are they?
what's in front of you is the fees and charges bylaw. Any sewer and water parcel would be in two separate bylaws. So this is strictly the fees and charges bylaw. There is, in the existing bylaw, you have fees for 2025, 2026, and 2027 already well established. What we've done is taken out the 2025 fees. It shows the 2026, 2027, and 2028 has been added, and it's generally a 5% increase all the way through.
And I just noticed there was a couple of typos where somewhere where you put $150, but then it looks like 1,500. The decimal in the
Yep,
wrong
we
spot.
can absolutely fix that.
Yeah,
I was looking at the sewer, so this is not, will we have an opportunity to discuss the parcel rates for houses with suites? Only because we had a lot come up with development cost charges last week. That sometimes like, I think we should discuss what some of them are, because last year I know that we pushed that one through quickly. And it just seemed like you had a house with a suite and it was 75%. And it could be, a suite might not even be rented, but you own a suite or whatever the case may be. It just seemed like it kind of got bulldozed through, is my personal opinion, but I was just wondering if we're gonna get a chance to talk about that, or if that's just gonna be passed in this one.
That's a completely separate bylaw, so we would
Okay,
have to.
so it
bring
is
those
separate.
Two bylaws, those are two separate bylaws, so those two separate bylaws would have to come to this committee for review.
Okay.
And then go to council for approval.
Okay,
So what bylaws are we looking at?
This is the fees and charges bylaw.
Fees and charges.
It's just
So-
one bylaw for fees and charges. It's
Okay,
got
so-
schedules A through Q, I believe in it.
So when I look at the waterworks rates and charges, is that?
Yes, that's in the
Oh,
fees and
okay,
charges
okay,
bylaw.
okay. So, I just have a question because at the beginning, it says it's going to, a 5% cost of service adjustment to keep pace. But then when I look at some of these increases in rates,
Which
There-
ones are you looking at? Are you looking at,
well, I kind
the
of,
only ones that have been changed are the ones that are in 2020, the 2028 column. Everything else is in the existing bylaw.
yeah, okay, that's where I got some problems. Okay, so on the civic center fees and charges, you've crossed off commercial for profit daily.
Yes, that has been removed because it was found that it was not being used that way.
where is that?
Okay,
which-
page 59. So one of the things I have a question on that is because, it was a 4 hour plus up to a maximum of 8 hours. But on these fees, because now you're going to go per hour, but if someone rents it for 7 hours, it's going to be way more expensive than what we originally had. And in some cases, 5 or 6 hours is more than what we had for the daily rate.
wouldn't we just pay the daily rate if it was up to 8 hours?
We're crossing it off.
But I think it
No,
would.
no, there's still a daily rate
Yeah.
for the entire facility per day. There is a daily rate up at the top. If you're looking at Schedule K,
On Schedule K, I just have it all crossed off.
So it's,
So I've got full auditorium, commercial for profit per hour. And then underneath it, it says commercial for profit daily, 4 hours plus, it's crossed off.
but if you, sorry, I'm just bringing it up here for you.
Are you in the red line?
I'm in the red, it's red, it's
Yeah.
crossed off. I don't have a daily rate here.
well, I'm
Up at
looking
the very top of the schedule,
Entire.
Civic Center rent.
Yeah, entire
rental?
facility.
It's blank.
No, you
Oh,
go down
oh.
commercial and then you have general. That's just a
Oh,
type.
I see up there. Oh, the entire facility. Oh, so those crossed off, then go up there.
Mhm.
Yes.
So what about if, wow. Okay, what about the auditorium east half?
Sorry, I'm just gonna pull it up here so everybody can see it here.
See, I see full auditorium, entire facility, but if I'm only getting the east auditorium or the west half.
It says
So-
per hour.
So
Yes,
for
I
the
know,
full
but what
auditorium,
happens?
there's a commercial and a general
Yeah.
rate. What they have found in the past year is that the auditorium, the commercial or the rates that have been crossed off haven't been used in the past year. So that's why they've recommended that it be removed.
So 4 to 8
Okay.
hours hasn't been used, people are just paying the daily. Like they're, because, yeah,
The daily.
which is the 2,000 right now.
The way that people generally use
But
the full
that-
auditorium is by the hour.
I see that up there, but I'm saying if they're just renting the auditorium east half, it's $220 an hour. But the whole day, the 4 to 8 hours is being crossed off.
Yeah.
So if I want it for 6 hours, it's way more than the $825 that was for 4 to 8 hours. So I'm just trying
I see what you're
to,
talking
The 825 is crossed out, so
Yes.
if somebody wants to have it for a 6 hour session.
yeah, that's
they're-
that's what I'm trying to.
They're renting
figure
it for something, emergency services or something's renting it for a 6 hour course and they want to pay the $800. Can they still do that?
If we take these out, if you guys do not want that out, you can
Leave it in?
leave it in. Absolutely. This is your bylaw, and so you can do what you like with it.
I think you should have it in.
I
Okay.
think you should have it in two, even though it hasn't been used, because when I started doing the math, in some cases, it goes from 5 to 8 hours is way more if you do it that way versus that amount that was for the 4 to 8 hours.
So anything up to 4 hours is by the hour, and then after that, you should
It's
have a
4 to
half
8,
day,
yeah, that's right.
or a daily.
I mean, most of the groups that are doing that are volunteer type groups.
Well,
that I would think-
weddings,
Yeah,
weddings,
yeah.
and
Well,
there
no,
would be more in.
yeah, but they might be the whole day, right? Then they would just pay the.
Yes,
daily
but
rate.
you don't have the full day here anymore.
Well, not for maybe the East Auditorium,
No,
but you'd probably be renting
yeah.
the whole facility for 2,000. Maybe, like, is that the intention? I mean. I guess like who I think of when I think of that would be one of the rooms, 1, 2, or 3, or 1, 2, and 3, or something like the. Psychological first aid training that was done by ESS, that was for about 6 hours. So what would they pay? Would they pay 800 or would they pay, 220 an hour?
If you would prefer not to have it in there, we can absolutely leave it. Or if you'd like to have
Yeah.
it left in, then
Yeah.
it can be left in.
I think on this one, it should be left in.
I mean, maybe it won't be used, but at least some people have the option of renting for. Yeah, because as soon as you rent for 4 hours, you're paying the same as the whole day, so that's probably why people are doing that, but. Do we have very many groups that rent for an hour or just 2 hours for meetings?
It's mostly short term.
Okay,
What is the rental of the facility? How's it been in this last year? Capacity wise?
It's been pretty steady this year. There have been some groups that have said that have found other locations,
Mhm.
but Dave would be better to comment on this. But my understanding is that revenues are not down significantly.
Okay.
well, I guess the concern was because a couple of years ago, you could rent the whole facility for $1,000 and now we're at 2,000, it's increasing to 2,100. Maybe people are committed to having a civic center, but have been actively looking for the locations. They haven't
Yeah.
been down, but are they forecast that?
And
Well,
there were,
is
Are
the revenue down because the cost has gone up double, but we have 50% less? So it's kind of,
Breaking even.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So what I'm trying to get is,
Cost recovered or thought about the cost?
yes, or have we discouraged people from renting from us because we're too low? But then we also have to look at, are we covering for heat, electricity, staff? So, we have to cover those too.
one example would be, it used to be quite common for people to rent the facility for 3 days for one wedding. So then nobody else would have access to it, and it would be at a very low rate, but they'd have a day for setup, a day for the wedding, and then a day for their takedown. That is now into one day that they're able to do their wedding.
And cost them the same.
Well, or 50%.
But then there's also the ability for other people to use
To
the
use it,
facility.
yes, okay. Okay.
Except for the Halloween decorating where it interferes with the watching the Blue Jays. You know, because Mike said,
It's spectacular. It's already been on the books for over a year.
just saying, weddings only get a day, but Halloween gets 10 days.
Maybe the Blue Jays can be paying in the black ground and
Yeah, well, they can all come to the pub once and I don't care. I'm just saying.
no, that's an idea.
I also have a question on, the animal control licenses. Those prices have, gone up significantly. But we're only talking about 2028, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I went and wasted all my time.
Well,
Um,
you have to look at this 3-year period.
I know. Well, what I'm just saying is, I'll just take the dangerous dog license. It went up 25% to 2026 and it went up 20% to 2027. And I didn't do 2028. But I'm just wondering why, like at the front, it says 5% increase and then like in first impoundment from 2027 to 2028, it's 10%. So I was just wondering why these are a little inconsistent.
So to put it into perspective, if we're dealing with a dangerous dog that has bitten someone, and if we are doing an application for a destruction for a dangerous dog, we are looking at $2,000 to $5,000 in lawyer's fees for one dog, for one dog bite.
Oh, I see. Okay.
There is a process, a serious process that's involved with a dog bite. There's investigation by an officer. We need to bring in a lawyer to have them either do up an agreement if we are releasing a dog back to an owner, or if we are doing an application for a destruction of a dog. That is a lengthy and very expensive process for the city.
So are we so now I'm
That's
gonna go
what-
on the flip side now.
What says?
Are we cost recovered?
It says actual cost plus 15% admin.
That's
That's if
disposal
we're-
of the little sucker.
That's if we're disposing of an animal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That in my time here, we have not disposed of any animals.
Right on.
So we've never put an animal down. When we bring a dog into our care that has been found running in through the city, we do a really good job of trying to reunite that dog with its owner. If not, then what we do is we reach out to rescue organizations to place the dog with them for rehoming. The city does not rehome dogs directly from the city. We use other agencies that is their specialty is to find new forever homes for dogs. There is a cost to that because we are driving those dogs to that place.
Feeding them and getting staff to check on them and yes.
So what is our cost recovery?
So our cost recovery comes through these fees. So if a dog comes into our care and if it's impounded, then there is a fee to return that dog to the owner. Those fees are used for those dogs that are not returned to their owners, and we need to drive that dog to Kelowna, or we need to drive that dog to another city to connect with the animal agency that's willing to take that dog.
So
Okay.
these impoundment fees, did that includes whatever food you would be feeding them?
Yes, food, blankets, toys, staff time to go and feed and
Toys?
walk them.
Well, you gotta have
We're
something.
trying to make lives
That's
as pleasant
right.
as possible for the dogs that are in our care.
But you should have destruction on here as well.
CAO?
We have,
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, what do you
Let's not
mean
try
by
to cut you off.
distraction?
Well, if you have to just kill an animal,
Well, they do have
We
it both.
do-
what is, well, no, she said that's the actual.
There is a
disposal.
disposable of animal and the veterinarian fees down at the bottom.
Oh, so the vet doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be through, we would not be doing that ourselves. That is a process that has to be done
Well, you
humanely and
said
sensitively.
something about $5,000 for a lawyer.
If a dog has been involved in a dog bite, we do an investigation. If that investigation reveals that the recommendation is that we need to make an application for destruction through a court process, that court process costs money. We need the lawyer's fees. We need to do an assessment of the dog. We need to bring in a veterinarian to do the assessment of the dog.
And that would be probably because the owner is disagreeing with your conclusions.
Or the
There's
dog is made
process
attack.
involved when a
Yeah.
dog bites someone, and if you have 21 days to make an application for destruction. So if a dog has bitten someone and it's a serious bite, then we would start that process within the 21 days. As we're doing the concurrent investigation into the dog bite, as we are talking with the owners to find out if there is a way in the future, if it's appropriate and the dog should be returned to the owner, then we can negotiate that and the terms of that return to the owner as well. It's a quite a complicated and very sensitive process that when a dog is,
And to be deemed a dangerous dog, it's a process as well. It's not
Yes.
just one complaint comes in, I would hope.
there is in our animal control bylaw, there is stipulations in there under what circumstances the dog would be designated aggressive or dangerous.
CAO, you had a,
I was gonna draw your attention to a different section. Probably want to finish this first.
okay.
I'm finished.
And Councillor Baxter has a question.
How come in this, there isn't a daily fee for holding that animal? There should be a daily fee, so that way if an owner's like, oh, I'm going on vacation, I'll let the dog go to the dog pound. Comes back 2 weeks later, it's like, oh, look, I got my dog, I only have to pay $110 instead of paying that daily fee for having that dog left there.
Is it here for 72 hours? Or for 72 hours? By the states of the but at that point, it's with me, but
Whose job is that?
they learned about.
I know.
Wes?
Okay, Viola.
So the dog can very care. Sure, of it, if we can start circulating. Poster to say, hey, send it to know whose dog is this, I think I need to make them. It's 72-hour constant, the other than not pull it. Then we need our release not value to and our managing to be.
What's the actual cost of making a dog license?
Making a dog license. We buy them in bulk. It's not only the dog license, it's also the issue that people would behind it, as well as that goes into fees and that go into. If you don't have a dog, trying to really find that dog, so the food board and all behind it.
Is the staff time caring for the dog is what these fees pay for. So it's just the licensing. The annual license fees, when we have a dog, when it's been impounded, then there is a fee for that as well. It's not every dog gets returned to its owner, so not every dog we receive an impoundment fee for.
Approximately how much do we bring in on fees, license fees?
That I can find out. Absolutely, I can find out.
I just wondering what the
That-
percentage rate of,
I don't have the number. It-
I do know that when we had gone to that online,
yeah, I like
there
that.
was a lot of people who weren't.
Yes, there
Oh,
was a
is that right?
significant
Yeah.
decrease in
Oh,
dog licensing when we were doing the DocuPet, which is why we stepped away from DocuPet.
And a lot of people just wouldn't bother because they didn't, yeah.
What's DocuPet?
Dr.
It was
But
the
used to do it online.
service, the online registration.
Yeah.
For your dog.
And I think they took, we didn't get the same amount of
No.
license fee because they took it. DocuPet took
Oh,
a certain
so we-
percentage.
Oh, okay.
It's a lot of admin for over, a percentage of $24, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say $24 is pretty cheap.
Yeah, a lot of people don't pay it.
Well, I don't because my dog's on a leash all the time.
All dogs should be licensed in
Yeah.
the city.
We won't say that on here.
We'll make sure
Yep.
we get you an application form.
January 1st.
Okay, so I guess going through, maybe there's more. Counselor Baxter, do you have?
I
comment?
have one about Schedule D cemetery fees schedule.
Oh dear.
I know, I'm probably on and on about this, but I think the resident is fine. I think the non-residents should be increased. I look at other communities and they're sitting about the $4,000, $5,000 range. And those are even hope, like they're sitting way higher than we are.
Land is expensive.
Yes, and we only have so much land and we only have so much space. So like I can keep the resident one the same, but the non-resident one, I think we should be increasing them.
I mean, I see your point. It's 3 times as much as the or as the resident one typically. But I mean, I personally just don't see people who live in, Vancouver coming up to Merritt to bury their relative. But I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
What is the percentage? Do we know?
Well, it just,
how
a
many?
resident for an adult in 2025
Yeah.
is 771 and a non-resident adult is 2,200. So it's not quite 3 times as much, but it's close to. And
Because if you're going to do that, well,
the other thing is,
it proportionately, it's 3 times the amount.
yeah,
And I think that's appropriate.
I think it is too. And then how about a person who has to go live with their family member in the Lower Mainland because they are,
But they also have a
For
history
care.
here because they would have
well, sure.
bills, they would have.
But I guess my point, my only concern is that if we call them a non-resident because they had to move to a care home in Delta because their family member lived there or Richmond or something, as an example. Are they now considered a non-resident and upon their passing, then they're paying 2,200, or are they gonna pay 771?
No, I think we discussed that before and we said they are a resident.
Okay,
Just
Yeah.
because they had to go to a different care home,
Okay.
they're still
Okay.
residents.
Even if you look at the columbarium niches and Kamloops, they come out at $5,000 for a columbarium niche. We're sitting at $2,000. If you look at like just for a plot is sitting at $5,193. Mars is sitting at, and this is they charge this for everybody, non-resident, resident.
See, that averages out then.
that's a lot. I mean, we
Yeah.
don't want people to be
No.
scared to die because they can't afford the funeral fees. Yeah.
In the cemetery bylaw, the definition of resident means any person who has resided within the city boundaries for at least 3 months at the time of application for a right to interment, or a person who resided in the city for a continuous period of at least 3 years of the last 10 years from the date of application for a right of interment, or a person who at any time resided in the city for a continuous period of 20 years.
So that covers your care.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah,
I'm just looking at it like even Hope is sitting way, and they charge the same for a resident and non-resident. So those people are paying that same fee. For this either being there or not being there.
CAO, you would know more about this because you're kind of involved with that columbarium, et cetera, et cetera. Are our fees cost recovery?
Last year, we made the change to get it closer. There was a good bump last year when we reviewed the bylaw.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we had done the numbers at that time going, we need to be in this range to get it into the ballpark of cost recovery. Haven't run the math on it lately, but because there was a significant change in the recent past, didn't look at it that closely because we're definitely closer to cost recovery. We definitely weren't before. If you look at the effort that goes into, the interment side of things or the costs of the columbariums, which where are we at with those things? They're just coming in, the 2 new ones installed. I think they're around $40,000 for 40 unit thing. So cost of the specific thing is around 1,000. Then we have to deal with it. We have to get things marked up and plaques put on. We're in the ballpark on that stuff now.
whereas before we probably were losing.
So I think I don't like to make money off the dead. And if we're in the cost recovery range, I think that's what we should be doing.
Councillor Eakin, do you have a thumb?
I was just thinking that, I think you have to have some fees in there to cover environment damage.
Oh, yeah, you haven't got that one.
All of that kind of stuff.
Well, and to that end, 100% is you look at the work we did to, the columbarium block itself is with 40 blocks is worth so much. The area we developed around it is capital for that as well, which goes into the cost recovery, the maintenance, the fixing of the marmot stuff. 100%. That we ran all.
We
those
do-
things last
Wind
year.
pulling up there that we have to maintain.
Yeah, we ran.
We
all
do
those
have a
things last year.
cemetery fund, do we not? A cemetery, no, don't we have a cemetery maintenance fund?
In the operational budget, yeah, you
Okay.
contribute to that,
Okay.
yeah. But the
Okay.
capital works, for instance, to do that area up. to the
Yes.
3 columbariums, units of 40 each. I mean, that capital was $228,000, if I recall. Add that to the supply of the extra columbariums and the other things we're doing there. We ran all the numbers last year and it was placed pretty close to, if not just below cost recovery last year.
Oh, okay.
So
I still think we need a little bit of an increase because with inflation and everything coming into effect, I think we need to even increase a little bit more. I know this seems wrong, but we need to make sure that we are maintaining the cemetery so that everybody up there, and when you come to visit your family, you're not being like, oh my God, why are they not maintaining this? Cause I think we should increase. I know it seems bad, but for non-residents, I think should do an increase.
Close. We got 2 new blocks for columbariums coming in this fall. The other one's pretty much full. Lost my train of thought there. The cost here doesn't necessarily translate directly to effort put into the cemetery, of course. It might fund the GL line for maintenance where we have the staff put, but you know, like anything else, everything's prioritized. We don't have a dedicated maintenance person seasonally that's keeping all this stuff up. It has been a conversation at different times, even on a seasonal basis, but the rates you have here don't necessarily transfer into maintenance on the other end. And because part of it's capital cost for the stuff, part of it's maintenance, yes, part of it's the physical doing of what needs to be done at the time we're prepping a site for people and or getting access to the columbarium itself and doing the plaques up. So yeah, the maintenance I think is generally given. I don't think that's really helping a lot with maintenance, but because it's coming in the coppers on one side, we're budgeting on the other side for it. There's probably a little bit of overlap on that, but an increase here does not necessarily translate to better maintenance.
How close are we to expanding the cemetery?
We're a little ways away as far as ground plots go. We're doing pretty good. The columbariums, we'll have to monitor. I've tentatively planned the next columbarium project, which was the one you saw before that we had to shut down because it came in over budget. That plan's still there. We're going to work towards recosting that in around 28, 29, I believe was the plan, depending on how fast we start filling up the 2 that are coming in this fall. We should be good for a few years. But then again, that's something we can't accurately predict. You can just kind of look at history.
So you're saying we've got 2 more structures coming in?
Yeah.
Have we paid for those?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, we paid the deposit, we pay the rest when they land.
but we've budgeted for
But the
that.
money's there.
Yes.
and
The money's there.
I just think that it's reasonable. We have the amounts and then every year it's adding 5%. And I can understand Councillor Bacter's point about, you know, things costing more and we don't want it to be the same rate for non-residents as residents, but you know, Councillor Charney has a good point about, you know, not profiting from death either. But if we're coming close to cost recovery, I think that's reasonable personally. So I don't know if we have a lot of,
Can you run the numbers to make sure we're at cost recovery?
well,
I
that'll
think
probably,
that's what this is, isn't it?
Yeah, we did it last year and that's what bumped the rates up
Yeah.
because we had capital work going on at the time for that site.
Yeah.
So the numbers were fresh at hand when we did it.
Yeah.
We're not far off. Depends on the level of accuracy you want on cost recovery, because honestly, depending on what you input and what you don't, numbers can move around, but the basics of capital's in there, the physical cost of the columbariums, the effort to physically do the work that needs to be done during the burial and whatnot, that's generally all accounted for. It's just not necessarily accounting for overall site maintenance for the entire cemetery. And the funds don't get necessarily directed exactly that way, I don't believe.
with the tariffs that we have on certain things, will that increase the cost of the columbarium or materials used for the cemetery?
Well, I'm hoping not. They haven't, I think they're building them in, I think they're from Kelowna. I think they're
Kelowna,
building
okay.
the stuff there with the granite and everything. It's all there. I don't think they're importing that. They haven't squawked about anything yet as far as wanting more money, so I take that as a good sign.
Okay, well, I feel comfortable with the current rates.
Okay, what about for the Ashes Cemetery? We charging people to put their ashes there?
We haven't yet. We do have a memorial book, which will be, it's like a stone book that's gonna come with the columbariums that will get placed there. Because we're not set up for that yet, we haven't figured that out. That was something I was gonna look at for the fee bylaw for next year, because we're not completely set up on it quite yet. How it all works when somebody using the site versus, is there a cost for the plaque that goes in the book? The book's essentially covered in the overall capital we've already done, but if people use that book and they're spreading ashes, that's a conversation I think we have to have on how we want that to apply. There's little cost. We might just have how much to put the engraved plaque in the book itself.
What if people don't want to have an engraved plaque? They just want to put the ashes in.
Can't they do it anytime?
This
Yeah.
this is City of Kamloops. They actually have a fee for putting the ashes there. $160.65.
But is that with a plaque or is that just
No,
putting
if you
ashes?
want a plaque, it's an extra $193.20.
Wow, okay.
See, I think that's gonna be hard to control because
Yeah.
I could just go up there at 8 o'clock at
Yeah.
night and spread them and
Bye, Lloyd.
yeah, I can see ya. Yeah, so I think that one's hard.
It's not something we've dealt with yet. It's
Yeah.
something we're planning, the spaces there, the little books coming and whatnot, but we haven't addressed it yet because we haven't figured out what that looks like as far as, is it palatable to
Are you
charge
getting,
people?
are people inquiring about it yet?
I haven't heard anything about it, so.
What about, I thought we had a section over to, if you're looking from the road, over to the far right where it was like a green barrier where you were wrapped in biodegradable solid.
Oh,
Yeah.
where you want to be ground up so you can be planted like a tree? Where they would
Well,
have-
I don't know if you're ground up, but
Oh,
you're
I thought
kind
it
of
was-
just in a biodegradable bag.
Oh, I thought
And-
it was part of both, so they had you kind of planted as. a
Well, that's the
tree.
bag that comes out of the urn.
Let's not do
No.
that. Let's
No,
not do
no,
that.
but I just thought there was a section over there for that. At one time, there was talk of it.
Well, the
The open-
expansion area from where the cemetery proper is right now, that next piece that goes over to whatever that road is gonna get extended, comes down. We have a
Behind
large
Wallplay?
section out there.
Yep, yep.
So that's the expansion. Fire department's been doing, fuel mitigation in there and whatnot. We are gonna need to expand the fence around that before too long and start looking in that direction to repair it. But I haven't seen, we have burial plots, we have columbariums. I haven't seen anything like
Really
that up
nothing.
there.
No green barrier.
I'm not involved in the 100% daily things that have been going on for all the years, so I haven't tripped over any bags, let's put it that way.
Must have been somewhere else. So, with regards to maintenance, how is the Marmot, situation?
Well, they were trapping and they were relocating,
That they're coming
Right.
back?
are they? It's been pretty quiet lately, as far as concerns
Do
raised.
they hibernate?
I would think so. I've never heard of a problem in the cool season. The tongue in cheek part of this is they tell us we can relocate them, 10 kilometers away. So my suggestion was we go straight up and release them, right? Within 10 kilometers.
They do hibernate.
Flying marmots.
They do hibernate in the winter.
But part of that is if we do end up talking about a caretaker that's seasonal out there. And a lot of the smaller municipalities do this where there's a society that looks after things and the municipality pays a little bit more or pays or directs the maintenance funds to a society that looks after it. And usually it's one or two retired guys that enjoy spending time out there and maintaining it, and they get a small amount of pay for that. And they look after everything. It's a very common, especially, where I came from with a lot of small communities. There's always somebody looking after the cemeteries. It gets difficult when the generation of doing it is no longer with us and they're using the cemetery a different way, because getting that interest. And then the municipality ends up taking more, and it's usually not done as well. But when there's interest or a specified caretaker that, whether it's 2 or 3 days a week, that activity is really gonna help the marmots. If we show activity there all the time, but they like it because it's quiet, sunny, they're on a slope, and they know where to run around when a little bit of activity hits. But if you're there all the time, they're gonna stay in the background, I think.
I just from personal observation, I find that the gravel area is much nicer looking than the grass because it's not really grass, it's kind of weeds. I don't know, is it watered? I don't know.
Yeah,
But-
we water according to the restrictions in theory. That's what everybody's been asked to do is program everything that way. A lot of that, I guess you call it the newer section, is lacking definition as well. And it's difficult to get at in some cases for people without definition of pathways. So we have been thinking a little bit about finding the rows in between the plots and trying to create more defined pathways there.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
things lay out and we can probably beautify it a little bit. Same type of thing. If there's somebody there working on a more caretaker basis over a period of time, we might be able to accomplish a little bit more.
I think
And-
that would be an excellent idea.
But adding definition, because right now, we're mowing and we're trying to look after things and. The goal has been make it so we can just run a mower everything. But if we have to go in and do things at different times. Then we have to be a lot more cognizant of where things are, but the mower is just sort of going over top of everything right now. I'd like a bit more definition myself, but it's baby step. You do what you can, a little bit at a time and.
Yeah, with pipeline quite a long time ago, and expansions and.
Yeah.
Pieces, because there's the old cemetery and there's slope,
Mhm.
but new sections where they're putting a lot of the urns and things on the side and. Yeah,
And my last question is, in all the ones I've looked at, they all have a veteran RCMP. A little lower cost to the RCMP and the veterans, so like it's a little cheaper rate to bury the ones that have served our countries. So would there ever be an interest in doing that?
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
wouldn't have a problem with it, but if we're concerned with not getting enough fees and cost recovery. and
I
stuff like
think
that, I think that we should just kind of have one rate. I think it's bad enough that we're fighting over rates for the swimming pool of, is it gonna be $5.50 or $6? I think if you're dead, it's, that's sad enough, but
Well, I'm just saying it because it counts, they have them, hope they have them, they all have a veterans RCMP where it's a little bit lower rate because they've served our country.
But they're also well above cost recovery on their pricing.
Yeah.
Right, so giving
Yeah.
up 10%, we're well above, they're still making
Yeah.
money on it. We're
Yeah,
trying to
that's
be in
great.
that cost recovery
Yeah.
zone.
We're just there.
Well, it's
So,
something
to
you
give
can
you an idea of
definitely
the
put as
operation.
a memo for the future.
Yeah. Just saying it.
Yeah.
So to give you an idea of
Yeah.
the operation, if we're doing just a straight interment of a urn. In order to keep things clean, that's a hydrovac. Minimum 2 people out just digging the hole with the hydrovac. It's gonna take. From the time they get to the shop, leave, go up there, do things, get back and empty things, it's probably an hour and a half. On a machine that itself is. In the private sector, gonna charge out at $3.50 an hour, plus the extra swamper. So. Just to put a hole in, we don't do it by shovel.
Mhm.
The hydrovac does a nice clean job. We're not bringing backhoes in for small things, but if you look at the cost of the equipment and things, yes, we own the equipment. It's really only operational costs you're thinking of. But when you compare that to the private sector, retail charge out of these things, what we're using in the way of a tool is quite an expensive tool. It does a nice job. But that goes to the cost of what we're doing, and that's just adding an urn to an existing plot. Where somebody's already occupying it.
They also have winter fees too, just for frozen ground.
Yeah, it's hard to dig, yeah.
we're not Saskatchewan here where it's -40 ground either. Like,
So you have to pay for the grave and the burial. Right?
Service and the plot, yes. But at that point, what are you doing with your money? Right?
I'm going up in the hills.
She's already given it away.
There we go.
Yeah.
Is there anything we want to change on that?
I don't
forward?
think so.
No, I don't think so. I think it's
I
fine.
think the fees are fine the way they
I
are.
would say refer it to council.
Council, yeah,
Well, it's part of the whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
So I want to draw your attention to the compost. Way down a ways, just above the dog stuff. So last year we tried a loading fee.
Oh, wait, now
Because-
you incorporated it.
Yeah, and when you look at, we have generally one person up there, we have to send another person out there to deal with the regular work and somebody else who goes up there to load people. The cost was a lot higher than what we're making on the compost just to send the person up there, so it was quite a heavy cost. Getting it used that way was probably a bit more of a administration nightmare for the people operating the site than it was worth. And a lot of arguments and stuff as far as how things applied and confusion, so we'll just leave the rates the way they are and we'll just take the hit on, we'll just have to send somebody up there to do the loading and not get compensated for it. We did raise it a little bit, did we?
Yep, you did.
Okay, I didn't have that
Well,
conversation.
not for 2020. Yeah, all of them. Yeah, yeah,
Is that where you're
Per
talking?
yard.
this one.
Like the product per yard, like this?
Schedule L. Yeah.
Yeah,
if you go-
schedule L.
Yeah, and if you go down, you can see that the loading fee was $5, so now it's just put into the place.
Yeah. And you know, when you look at it, you know, the previous loading fee, the thinking was somebody coming up there with a little utility trailer and you gotta send the guy up, get the skid steer, go load him. He's taking half a yard or a yard in his trailer. That's not a big deal. We didn't anticipate the guy bringing in a, you know, 30-yard truck and taking stuff out in bulk. And now we're charging per yard on top of that, the load. It's just as much time because it's every time you do it. But we're getting rid of the material on bulk at that point.
Mhm.
And ultimately, the job here is to get rid of the material and get it used somewhere else because it's a waste product from our treatment plant. So it's a little unmanageable if it's included. We don't have extra administration work with the people on the site trying to track different stuff and figure out what's what. And I believe the discounts that we show on here that are that's a new proposal now, correct? We had that conversation over the last year about why is there a discount? Like, what are we? This is something that we pay to get rid of regardless. If it's a value and you take a little bit more, it's not a big cost product, so. Asking again, the staff at the site while they're setting up how payments work to figure out, well, how many scoops did I put in and. What's the discount applied? It's easier if we just say how much a yard and that's it without any extra math involved.
Yeah. Seems simpler.
And we're not recovering anything on that. We're not making money on it. We have to get rid of the product one way or the other. So we
Do you
can
get rid of
monitor. Yeah, generally, we probably moved less this year. But we're also figuring we're gonna try and use more of it ourselves. We had a bulk deal last year where we moved everything out to a one person that then resold it in a retail environment, which was great for us. Cause then we didn't have to babysit all the little trailers that came up there all the time looking for a half yard here, a half yard there. So it cut a lot of the run out there and helped this guy load his trailer kind of a thing. Cause we didn't have any product left. We're getting an accumulation of product again, cause we're not moving quite as much this year on bulk. But we can also find other things to do with it ourselves as long as we plan for it. But lots of things that need better grass and soil coverage, so. I just wanted to point that change out and get that conversation going.
What were you adding? Weren't you earthworks or something?
Yeah, I had a question about the earthworks
schedule?
and how much the fee was, but
That's in the development services, right?
What schedule is that?
it's just before.
Earthworks permit.
Thing about $5,000 or something, that I had a question on it. So many other discussions that came up in between. With the cost of the permits, but.
So if I'm not mistaken, this is telling us this is security and everything below that is security, correct? So it's a refundable deposit when they've done everything correctly and haven't left a mess. Have built everything to the plans that were submitted, they get their money back.
What schedule are we on?
H.
H?
It's H?
G.
Schedule F.
Oh, yeah.
What the F thing?
Okay.
Let's see.
Earthworks, that's what you had concern about?
Well, yeah, I just wanted clarification on the amount.
Yeah, so those are security deposits, $5,000. Quite honestly, for larger projects, $5,000 doesn't encourage them to get things done correctly when we issue a permit, as far as moving all the correct earthworks and things like that and getting it in compliance. So
Yes.
I've got a little bit of trouble with it. It's what it's kind of been.
So what,
Um,
what is it that people are doing or not doing that you'd want to charge that on? They're excavating for new lots or for new construction house or?
or if they're gonna regrade a commercial property someplace. Like when you get your permit, you have to provide us plans of what it is you're going to accomplish with it. We look at drainage, you look at your neighbors' yards and the tie-ins and things like that, and then we have to make sure they get it done. Well, if they don't do it that way, we don't have enough money to make sure that we have their attention. Then it doesn't necessarily get done. It creates an administrative burden to keep working with them to try and get it there. So
Well, I noticed that like there's a new monster home going up over by the central. And it seems to be a few feet higher than the houses beside it, so I'm kind of thinking, well, what's gonna happen with all the snow going to the neighbors' yards, cause it's so high, like. And is that, would they have an earthworks deposit on that, like, will it be graded so it slopes down into the?
it's less about what it is and more about the fact that when they apply for it, we require plans from them. Then we require them to build to those plans.
Okay,
And depending on the site, we require stormwater management plans, we require full grading plans. If they don't build it to that, what's our remedy to make it get built to that? Right? We've been working with houses up on the bench a little bit lately as well, some of the newer ones. We're doing what's been required for a long time, but nobody's been asking for this for quite some time, where we actually get in and look and make sure that you're not draining directly onto your neighbor's property. You have a swale. If you don't build it and you don't have enough of a security deposit, how do I get your attention to make you fix it? So having your money is what gives me the leverage to get you to get it right,
yeah,
right?
well,
So
I think because we have maybe people trying to develop in the flood area.
I was just gonna ask that.
Yeah, sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
but we must be thinking the same on that, because I'm thinking, hey, you wanna have a raised foundation to prevent flood damage from if we have. A flood event, and looks like that's what these people have done, but then it's quite a bit higher than all the other homes, so I'm thinking, okay, but then there's neighbors on both sides and behind it.
I would think there'd be within that permit that they've got, there should be a grading plan for it. I'm not sure of the exact
Okay.
site you're talking about.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a couple
but
of.
we have to make sure things are done well, so they're not impacting their neighbors. They're not impacting the road in front of you or the alley behind you.
All right,
When I look at a grading plan and things that come in under application,
yeah,
we go through those things with a fine tooth comb
okay,
and
so,
make
So
sure
in
that they're functional.
floodplain, if you are you're building a house between two others, you're in the floodplain, the new law says you have to build up. So you can't build your dirt up, can you?
Yeah.
So, but then how's that going to slope to your neighbors and the front and back?
You have to
Okay.
figure that out on your own site. You might have to build retaining walls. There's always a solution,
mhm,
as long as we ask for it and then hold them accountable for it. And that's what the security deposits are for, is they're holding them accountable to do what the plan said. Some of the driveways we talked about before up on the bench, Grandview area there. Things like this go to that. They should have earthworks permits for those places. We find that even within the road allowance, we're not getting the right grades there. So what do we have to make it so it happens? So things are done according to the plans, according to our standards. If that's what the security deposit's for. On a regular house, 5,000 is probably plenty by and large. 5,000 on a larger site, where you might be moving $1 million worth of dirt, drop in the bucket. How do we make sure it happens? How do we make sure that they follow the requirements, right? Which we don't have a lot of autonomy on that. It's always been just a standard, same amount.
do they get withheld a final occupancy if they don't comply?
We are using those tools in the other bylaws now to make sure that all other requirements are are handled. And that's just a matter of making sure that all the people with the different permitting requirements are coordinating together.
Cause I mean, really, we're only gonna find out about something like that when a major flood happens and then we'll have everybody mad at council and the mayor.
Yeah.
That's as we went through the.
Well,
21,
it's just interesting though, because, like, I mean, half of the downtown or 3/4 of the downtown is now deemed flood. Right? And so I'm just wondering how it's going to happen, because I knew we do have some vacant lots. And so with the new rules, they have to build that up, and I'm just wondering how it impacts the neighbors.
Yeah,
It's the obligation of the person building to make sure that they're handling their runoff and everything according to what we expect in the general area. Some of the overall storm plans for subdivisions show water shedding from lot to lot. So that when we get lots developed, we expect to kind of see the same thing based on what the overall storm plan that was approved for the area and engineered is. A lot of the older areas where there are no overall storm plans for them, then we look at everything individually. We request on-site detention to make sure you're not releasing more than, because you've paved everything and you got more hard surfaces, that impacts how you release your water. So we might require detention and storage to make sure you're not impacting somebody with more rushing water.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
This being largely deposits, we've tightened up how we operate as far as coordinating the different groups and their permits. The functionality of the deposits was an issue when building permits were given occupancy and they haven't finished their landscaping yet. And then we no longer have a tool, if we didn't have a good deposit, to force them to get their landscaping correct. Right? Now we have the tool, you get it corrected first, but we're gonna withhold occupancy until you get it done. So we found the other tools, just saying the size of the project makes a big difference on the deposit is the only flaw I see in this.
yeah. Especially because it's got 3 more units, still $5,000, so some people aren't as worried about that, but.
If it costs you more than $5,000 to do what I ask, chances are you're not gonna do it, so you keep my money. So. And $5,000 of landscaping doesn't work.
Sort of along the same line, but different. What about people who have hot tubs and pools and they empty them?
Yes, I've seen that on the road.
Well, I have a neighbor actually that you could see where the trail went out and it was an open trail and he did have a pipe, but he also guided it down to the drain, the city drain. And I don't know do they have to ask permission for that? Do they have to pay a fee for that? And what about pools who, where does all that water go down? Because they've got to empty it every year, at least by 3 feet.
So definitely, I wish we did have something where they'd have to get our permission to do it, mainly because we get everybody driving by going, we have a water leak somewhere, and then I got 4 guys up there looking for a water leak and it's just somebody emptying their pool. Happens every year, happens 3 or 4 times a year, and it costs the city money. More than that, the production and other things.
Is there,
because, yeah.
is that true now that nobody on the bench can make a underground pool?
Well, I think you'd have to do the geotechnical study to confirm you're okay to do it and everything's what you're
Oh, okay,
building.
because
is
I
okay.
heard somebody say that they weren't allowed to do an underground pool where they were.
Might be where they are due to
Yeah.
geotechnical reasons.
Maybe.
We don't have a specific reason about that ourselves. I haven't seen that in our bylaws.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, but I'd be interested to look into where all the hot tub water's going.
yeah, like with mine, I control it within the trees and stuff in the area that I'm looking after, and I let it drain for a long time and soak into where it's doing some good. You know, other places we've had, oh my God, I got a water leak and there must be a big main because there's water coming all the way down Walter Street and, right? And that's what costs because everybody has to go look in. We
Yeah.
have people at the front desk take the phone calls and they got to get a hold of people in Public Works and then they go look.
Can you
They-
source it though? And say,
Yeah,
yeah,
yep.
to give
you
them,
still gotta go look, because even though you suspect it might be the pool, because we got the call 3 times before, you still gotta go look to make sure.
Yeah.
Right? And to that end, if there was something that forced somebody to let us know that they're running it down to the street, we'd be able to take that first phone call and go, we know what that is, thank you. it's somebody draining their pool, and then.
Okay, well, do you think people, if they knew that they could do it, because I think a lot of people think they're just doing it on the sly right now, right? So if they knew that they could do it for no fee, and do you think that they would phone in and say, hey, I'm draining my pool, this is my address? Get phone calls, you know it's coming from me.
Yeah, at least then you can tie it to a time frame unless somebody's adamant they see pressurized water coming out that it could be
Yeah.
a pipe. The thing to think of as well, when we flush hydrants, for instance, we're taking the chlorine out of our drinking water, which arguably has less chlorine in it than your pool does because you're gonna run that at a higher rate. And we're dumping chlorinated water from our pool into our street, into our storm system and releasing that into the environment. But when we do things like flushing a hydrant, we have to dechlorinate with dechlorination pucks and whatnot, so that's the environmental concern. That'd be about the only thing you have that would be a concern is that we're dumping who knows what water into the system, right?
So
And-
should we not have something in place where you cannot dump your pool?
Maybe there should be a new fee.
Because environmentally, that's pretty bad.
for
If it
chlorinated-
goes into our water system.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
But
then,
if it just went into a big field or it went into the
Well,
forest
well-
behind your house.
if it goes into the
Well-
drain pipe, then it would go to the treatment plant, would it not?
No, not if it's storm sewer. It's going down to an outfall and into the river probably, or into a catchment area or something.
Yeah,
But once
going
again, the
there.
standards we run on, because we have to, we dechlorinate, and that's our drinking water.
Mm-hmm.
You can smell chlorine in pool water,
Yeah.
gotta have a lot more concentration than your drinking water does.
Well,
so
maybe we
just
should
saying.
look at having something where you cannot drain your.
Are there
pool.
storm sewers on the bench?
So,
Not very many though.
not very many.
I know
That's
there's
the
one.
erosion issues we have off there
Yeah.
are evidence of we collect water, put it out through a couple of pipes here and there, so we are collecting some. The erosion is concentration and lack of mitigation at the end of that, which we're working on in that one project that we're trying to get going this year, right off of Juniper.
Okay.
And that's something we're gonna have to look at all the way along.
Yeah,
To try and reduce. We also have a lot of dry wells along Parker, I think close to your place.
yeah,
Some of them have pumps in them. Those pumps pick up the water that collects, shoots it through a pipe, kicks it over the bank again through properties.
Yeah.
We're doing a study right now to see if we can do piping within the road, get everything operating under gravity. Instead of running all these electrical pumps and whatnot that keep corroding, see if we can deal with gravity. So we're working on it. Likely when those got done, the rest of the stuff didn't exist off the end of, what is it, Castaloo or what's the downstream end close to,
Parker, Juniper?
yeah, the other end. But chances are those systems didn't exist when the dry wells were put in, because that's probably an early area. It'd be nice to be able to get that into the system, down the little pathway into the detention pond above the RC&P building and then running through the system.
Yeah.
So we're working on it. We just gotta see if it's feasible or not before we.
sounds like a lot of money too.
When Parker
Yeah.
was built, there was no RCMP station there. It's only 1986.
Yeah. So to that end, you're talking about the 5,000, long story short, that's a deposit. Functionality of it, as far as the amounts, there's always a little bit of risk depending on the size of the project.
Yeah.
But we are exerting control through other means right now by withholding occupancy until all other things are looked after. So if we have something not complying with the earthworks bylaw, just make sure that we're handling it from an occupancy perspective to force people. So I'm not too worried about the money, other than we have to have a tool and we're using other tools now.
We have the tool. Well, okay, I think with that, I think we've covered a lot of the detail. So do we now want to make a motion to move this
With the changes.
with the changes? So all in favor?
CO.
Oh, CO, you have a comment, sorry.
I just wanted to clarify, so the changes that we're making are to Schedule K to reinstate the daily fee for the individual rooms.
Yes,
And is there any other fees, any other changes that you'd like made?
I think we're gonna bring
Yeah,
it to
I don't have
council
any other
for- to
notes.
have the final
Yeah,
decision.
cause there will be more discussion, I'm
Yeah.
sure, from the other people.
Okay, so motion to move this to council with the changes made to Schedule K?
Yeah.
All in favor? Okay, on that note, We don't have any information items, and that's termination. Thanks.
Wow. Thank you.